Hi there, Namaste, Kamcho. This is Ketan Gajjar, your host from the very Apnu, Ahmedabad in India. Welcome to Recruitment Career. Today we are talking about the role of grit and determination with Chris O'Connell, who is a leadership coach, mentor, and a performance coach. Chris, welcome to the show.
Ketan, absolutely thrilled and honoured to be on. Thank you so much.
Great. So Chris, you have an extensive background in the recruiting industry, and now working as a well-being coach as well, and helping number of clients. So, would you be kind enough to give a brief background about yourself, and then how do you assist individuals and agencies?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So I've got 25 years recruitment experience. I started out in 1998 for a big company called the S3 Group in the UK, but they're actually worldwide. 2,500 consultants there. I was the worldwide top biller, placing contractors, project program managers, change managers into various different organisations, was billing about £1 million a year, became a manager, director, team leader, and loved the whole concept of recruitment and became very skilled at it. And that business was amazing. If you cut me in half, I would bleed S3. I didn't think I'd ever leave. But then I just woke up one day, left, set up my own business, recruitment business. In 2003, got that to 100 people, 30 to 33 million pounds turnover, 3 offices, 14 industry awards, so loads of awards for our profitability, loads of awards for our culture as well, which I'm really proud about. So how we engage with our customers, how we engage with our colleagues as well. I'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but the culture was really good. And I sold that through private equity, but the transaction went wrong. So I kind of lost millions of pounds. I lost my identity. I lost my home. I lost my business. I lost access to my children. Had some very dark mental health problems as well, and came back into the industry sector 3 or 4 years ago, and utilised my experiences, my great successes, and also my failures and losses to now become a renowned and respected NED. So I go into businesses now and help them grow, and I'm loving that. I'm a mental health first aider. I'm a podcast host myself as well, but the joy I'm getting from helping businesses grow is fantastic. So yeah, that's a bit of an intro there.
Thanks, Chris. So you obviously seen the ups and downs. You've been there, you done that. You obviously were down, and you're sort of back up, assisting and helping number of people in the industry as well. So what we want to cover, Chris, is precisely your experience of how it feels when you're on a high, and obviously how do you cope up with the downs as well, and bouncing back is the name of the
Sure.
game. And given
Yeah.
working in recruiting is quite high pressure environment. So how does grit and determination, what is the role both these traits play in being a successful recruiter and thriving in the industry?
I think it's one of the most important aspects of the role, in terms of you're dealing with people, right? And they can change their mind at any given moment. They can choose to sell themselves to the role or not, or the client can change. So, it's a very kind of up and down roller coaster type environment. And what I've learned is that when you're doing really well, that's great. But I think it's about enjoying those moments, but also keeping a level head, because nothing's permanent. And when you're in the in the shit, or it's a difficult time for you, I think it's about having perspective around actually what am I grateful for, and realizing that's not permanent either. So what I'm trying to say is I almost define it as like an American football field, where there's end zone. One end zone is really negative when you're in a bad situation. The other end zone is when you're flying. And actually, it's not really that good to be in either end zone. You want to try and keep this kind of 50-yard line thing where you try and maintain a level of measure, really. So I'm not saying don't enjoy the highs. Absolutely celebrate those, but just remember that things can change. So I think is that dedication, that kind of magic dust, that kind of resilience. It's huge in recruitment, and I think it's a fundamental aspect. And I've learned more from my adversity, trauma, mistakes, losses than I have from my successes. And if anything, I think people respond really well when they're in the most difficult situations, because you have to take action, right?
Of course, there is an alternative to action, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, yeah, procrastination can be the death of you, can't it? I mean, I'd sooner regret something I've done than regret something I haven't done.
Totally, totally. So in terms of grit, how does one develop grit, and then what is grit, and how does that relate to your day to day, handling pressure, handling the highs and the lows, and then surviving, whatever environment you're into, be it sport, be it business.
Yeah. Again, I think it comes with losses, defeats, mistakes, and I think you become more resilient as you know. It is how you respond, and I think that everyone's got their own form of adversity or difficulty, and I think at some point in time you have a choice as to go. Oh, this has happened to me, or actually, this has happened to me for a reason. How can I utilize it? So, with my example, I've had some fantastic highs, but my losses, I wouldn't say I enjoy them, my mistakes and my failures, but actually it's almost a gift. And so actually this has happened to me for a reason. How can I utilize it? And then I use that to kind of help and mentor others. So I think it's a process. I think it takes time. I think it's one of those where if you're a glass half empty person, you're not ever going to learn. I think it's just about learning from your mistakes and, almost just embracing the hardship sometimes is the way to do it, I think.
Sure. So for somebody who is, let's say, new to the recruiting industry, and of course, they're going to see some very good highs, when they're getting interviews, when they're placing a lot of candidates, and all of a sudden, you have one bad quarter where, things just go down south.
Yeah.
What would your advice be for the newbies in the recruiting, industry, who are probably first 6 to 12 months? And given the market situation right now, it's a candidate short market. There are lots of offers, but there are a lot of counter offers as well.
Yeah.
What would you advise, those people?
I think you've hit the nail on the head, yeah. We're all in the same boat, and I think it is about accountability and awareness. So at the end of the day, you can have all the right tools, the right information, motivation, but if you're not doing the basics consistently, you put your head on the pillow and go, actually, I've had a good day today. So for me, there's not a recruiter in the land that hasn't had a bad day, week, month, or quarter. It happens, right? And you have to take the rough with the smooth. But I think it's about consistency and understanding what constitutes a good day, a good week, a month. Is it making 100 phone calls? Probably not. Actually, it's having tangible business conversations. What actions are you doing to ensure that you're going to have good outcomes? So it's like I said earlier. Ultimately, your success is really down to you. So you can blame other people, blame managers, and actually, more often than not, when we really reflect, we know whether actually I've had a bad quarter, not because of the market, not because of the counter offer. These things do happen. Sometimes it's just about being accountable to yourself, but also sometimes it's, hey, that was out of my control. I've done everything, and it's like, don't dwell on it too much. Just you've got to look forward. I think
Sure. And is there any framework you would suggest, recruiters specifically to follow that you have used, over the years and, found to be successful?
Yeah, I mean that's a broad question, but I think it does come down to organization. I think it's important to map out your market, know the size of your market, understand where you are now, where you want to get to, and how you're going to get there. That, for me, fundamentally, that starts with a good, easy to follow day plan. So each day, understand what the 3 to 5 most important objectives are that you want to deliver each day, and get organized. And I tend to look at task management as opposed to time management. So do 2-hour sprints of hard work, have a little break, making sure you're having breaks as well. But I think it's doing the basics consistently, and it's building relationships, right? So I think email, work from anywhere, work from home is great. But I think if you can pick up the phone, if you can meet your customers, if you can leave a voice note instead of a text message, it's just going that extra mile, building that relationship. But also one of my mantras is nobody's inferior and nobody's superior. So when I was business developing, for example, I didn't put a client on a pedestal. And I think a lot of recruitment consultants put clients on pedestals. They can speak to candidates really easily, but they kind of get the fear with the client. Absolutely not. Position yourself as the expert. and be a human being as well. Sometimes I think we can be overly business orientated, and actually people want to deal with a human being.
Absolutely. And that's where the role of there's a thin line, and especially for the new ones, who come into the sector, we tend to see that, okay, fine, yes, being professional is one thing, but then at the same time, the human element has to come out, which is what your point,
Yes.
and it relates to your recent post as well about putting clients on the pedestal, and then
Yeah.
not exactly sure that, okay, fine, how should I conduct. And then the pressure tactics, obviously play a big role as well. Because if I'm a rookie,
Mm.
going into a new client meeting, I'm obviously going to be on the back foot. That, oh God, it's
Yeah.
first or second or third client meeting. I have to get this client, and I'm determined to sort of make my way through. Which is where, again, you'd have observed a lot of people do make compromises on the quality of the clients as well, because your goal is just getting a client, isn't it? It's nothing else
Yes.
but just to prove.
I think absolutely. I think because the market's quite strong at the moment, a lot of my clients are saying, "Oh, we've got so many jobs on now, we don't need to business development." But I question that, because I'd sooner have a consultant working on 5 quality jobs, quality clients with control, good fees, interview slots booked, than having 15 jobs on and delivering poor service to a few, as opposed to delivering great service. I think it's so important that actually we're ruthless and go, actually, can I see the deal? Is this business actually going to make me? Is the client? And if they're not, walk away or change what you're doing. I think we get delusions of grandeur. This is a great client, well, actually, it's not, because you haven't placed anyone. It's that kind of thinking, and I think it's an interesting one.
Sure, Chris. So Chris, from the determination perspective, one is consistency. You mentioned, and it's the process, following the basics. How determination plays a role, and there are certain things we do on an average day, and we don't see the results. So you go and work out on day one, you won't see lot of change. Day two, no change. Day three, no change. So what role determination plays, and how long should one carry on, being sort of focused on just one specific thing?
I think it's breaking objectives down into small chunks. So I'm all for 3 to 5 year business plans and all this kind of stuff. But if ever I ask someone to do a business plan, it's 18 months, because I think that's all you can really look at. What's around the corner, and then within that, it's like the next 90 days, and then we go back and say, well, what do we want to achieve this month? So I think it's what I'm trying to say is, I think it's about understanding where you're heading in the big picture, but also saying, I need to chip away at this every day, even to the hour. It's like, if I can put the head on the pillow and go, actually, I haven't done a deal this week or this month or this, but I've added this. And it's understanding that it's the steps along the way that get you there. So, and that's how you can motivate yourself. But in terms of motivation, dedication, and determination, it's an ongoing thing. And some days you're going to have bad days. So it's breaking it down into smaller chunks and celebrating your small wins, I think.
Of course, and don't let your bad days turn into bad weeks, and then bad weeks into months by procrastinating that, it's not working, isn't it?
No, absolutely. And I think it's about being open. If you are struggling, this is why I'm a passionate advocate for vulnerability in leadership. So as a leader of your business, recruitment business, if you are a human being and you're a bit open and a bit vulnerable, what that tends to lead to is that your people then become like that as well. And that's what you want. You want your consultants to be, actually, I'm struggling with this, and not be afraid to tell you that, rather than leading with an iron fist and pushing and expecting them to do more. If the results aren't happening, sometimes it might not even be in work stuff. It might be stuff that's going on outside of work, and they're more likely to tell you that. And that's what you want. You want that kind of relationship.
Sure. So on that note, in fact, I was going to ask you that you are a mental health advocate, and what tips would you, have for the recruiters in terms of having sort of taking care of their mental health,
Yeah.
while at work, while off work.
Well, hopefully the environment that they're in is more conducive to mental health now. I think there's much more flexibility, there's much more awareness, understanding, and empathy of that. So I think it's about trying to be open with your colleagues and your bosses, encouraging others to talk about it. I think hopefully your leaders will be doing that. But I think Where I went wrong when I was running my business was it was 99.9% of my entire life. That's all I ever thought about. I slept, ate, drank, talked about it, and eventually it led to burnout. So I think that it's about making sure that you're productive. I'd sooner you go all out for a couple of hours than have a break, all out for a couple of hours, and then try and do this 8 to 8 thing where you just can get burnt out. So it's working smart, work hard, but I think that, well, I'm a living example where I'm probably doing less hours now than I ever have, but I'm more productive and earning more money. So I think it's sometimes less is more.
Sure, and then you covered it earlier in the podcast, sprint like a lion. So
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? I mean, and that's it, and it's enjoyable. Then I think that yeah, and also how you approach your business as well. It's not necessarily how many actions you're doing. It's just the quality of your actions.
of course, and the consistency. Doing one thing once in a month is not going to help unless it's really big.
No, absolutely. Consistency is a big one, isn't it?
And you mentioned about breaking tasks into smaller chunks and then reviewing it on an average day. Now, what are the important tasks from a recruiter's perspective? And obviously, it's reaching out to the candidates or clients and then mapping the market
Yeah,
that you want to deliver. So again, coming back to if somebody wants to be a successful recruiter, they're going to see
yeah.
those ups and downs in their lives. Any personal advice that you have for them, that they must follow out of work? That okay, fine, this is my job. I'm going to make calls. I'm going
Right.
to client meet and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think in a nutshell, be the CEO of your life as opposed to the CEO of your business. So this whole kind of work-life balance thing, I think it's more it's life. So I mean, one of my coaching businesses, there's 6 facets. There's business, there's personal development, there's health and fitness, there's purpose, there's financial, and there's relationships. So I feel that take a step back, and for example, if you haven't got good relationships, or you're not physically well, or you're not doing personal development, that can have a huge impact on what you're doing at work. So have a morning routine is a good one. I mean, I wake up every morning, I walk into the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror, and I engage with myself, and I actually high five myself. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I kind of tune into myself. I've got a whiteboard in my bedroom with my values on it and some manifestations. So as soon as I wake up, I'm thinking positive. I'm going into myself. I'm not kind of comparing myself to other people. So what I think is it's self-talk is really important. Exercise, the right diet. It's, this whole kind of work hard, play hard thing. I think you have to treat your life outside of work as a business in a way. So I think where we go wrong sometimes is we put all our efforts and energy into the business, and we forego the relationships, we forego the mental health, we forego our purpose and our our relationships and our personal development. And actually, you've got to try and find a way where you're apportioning some time to these aspects as well. Because when you do, your business flies because you're more clearer, you're making better decisions. So I think it's that balance around, instead of it being 95 business, kind of like apportion some time to some of those other areas. And this is the stuff that I coach. And also, we set business goals and objectives. Why not set personal objectives? It could be, I want to lose X number of pounds, or I want to run a marathon, or I want to listen to 20 podcasts by the end of the year, whatever it might be. That can be a sense of achievement. That can be motivation. That can give you a lift. And you go into work, you feel good about yourself as well. I think that's important.
Of course. So, which is where the self-awareness aspect, also kicks in, isn't it? That yes,
Yes.
I'm doing great at work, or I must achieve certain successes at work, but these are the personal things that I want to learn, which has a different kick, because then you're building something for your own, apart from just investing in the business. You're investing in yourself, and then basically you want to be the CEO of your life.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, if you're a position where you're quite a senior person in your business, that rubs off on other people as well. And if you've got good well-being, good mental health, what does that do? You're then treating your colleagues, your customers, and your clients in a much better way as well. You're in a positive mindset. You actually get more business as well, and people come to you. It's that attraction piece. Whereas if you're tired and you're worried and you're not looking after yourself, that comes out in your tone and in what you do and your actions, and therefore it affects your business, right?
True, and which is once again a link to procrastination or doing things that are not going to help you, short term or long term.
Well, that's the other point, isn't it? I think in terms of building your business, I think that, well, I've always built my businesses on a third, a third, a third. So a third completely new business, a third where you've had, some success, you've placed 2 or 3 people, and a third kind of key account business. So a short, medium and long term kind of approach. And I think that's what you have to do with your life as well. And, it's this kind of self gratification that you get on social media, and, buying yourself some nice stuff is good to reward yourself. But I used to invest in clothes and cars and watches and houses. Now, I'm not really interested in that now. I've got my own coach. I invest in personal development. I invest in experiences. So I'm thinking more sort of medium to long term, and that's working really well for me.
True, and that's where you hit the nail, because that's also important to mental health. It's not the material things that are going to help you be happy or give. Yes, they will give pleasure in the short term, but when it comes to long term, you haven't developed something for your own. Giving examples like you gave, lose X number of pounds or listen to X number of podcasts, which obviously adds to your knowledge bank, and indirectly helps with your discussions with your clients, small talk, whatever is needed for the industry, indirectly
Yes.
for your business.
Absolutely, and knowledge is power. The more knowledge, I think, the more knowledge you gain, the more interesting conversations you had, as you say, the more business you get. But then you start to meet more interesting people, and I think also the people that you do associate with have a massive reflection on you as well. So even to the extent of the content that you're absorbing as well, I've cancelled or blocked some content because it wasn't helping me, and I only want to connect with people that I'm going to learn from as well. So it's really important what you absorb. Also, the friends, the family, even your family members, if they're not positive for your mental health, you have to question why you're spending that much time with them. It's really important.
True. So spend time with people and things who actually have a positive impact on your life, rather than who are only going to alienate you and then have a negative impact, isn't it?
Yeah, and even in the workplace, if it's getting to a point where it's not conducive, you may or may not need the money, but there's always an employer out there or business out there that will be good for you. So don't be afraid to kind of make those decisions in work as well.
So links in properly well. You must have the grit and determination to lose things as well. That okay, fine, these are not helping me, and I must let go.
100%. Saying no to someone or something is saying yes to you. The power of saying no is a skill. Setting boundaries is really, with clients as well, customers. If a client isn't playing ball, isn't paying you on time, or is moving the goalposts, say no to them. Family, friends. And what that does, it builds respect in yourself, that self-respect piece. And I think more often than not, too many people, they people please for the sake of it, and they live in this resentment thing. So it's definitely a skill.
True. People pleasing is obviously one of the reasons a lot of people end up spending a long time in wrong places, be it personal and professional, and then not getting much out of it.
No, and they get walked over, and they get depressed, and they blame other people, and sometimes it's difficult, and it's out of your hands. But ultimately, if you really want to change and do something different, you have to do something different, basically.
Sure. So Chris, what is one advice you would give to rookies and newbies who want to venture into recruiting, on the agency side specifically?
Yeah, I think it's not easy. There's ups and downs, but I think it's perseverance. I think it's resilience. I think it's just keep doing the basics consistently, and eventually it will pay off. So I just think patience is actually a paradox, because in recruitment, everyone wants the deal yesterday and everything else. So actually slowing down a little bit, executing things in the right way, being patient, can actually be better than rushing, cutting corners, and just climbing that icy mountain. Recruitment is a hard gig. So just be aware of burnout and just doing things in the right way.
And then lastly, what would be your advice to somebody who's in a slump, had not one in a couple of bad quarters?
I think that ordinarily something good is about to happen, and these things happen for a reason. I'd see it as a gift and a lesson, what you can learn from it. And it's the age-old thing: don't give up, keep persevering, and where there's dark, there's always light. That sounds a bit cheesy, but just keep pushing through.
Fabulous, fabulous, Chris. Chris, really appreciate your time and obviously valuable insights. I'm sure the listeners will enjoy the podcast. And thanks for being with the Recruitment Curry.
Thank you so much. That was really enjoyable. Cheers.
Cheers, Chris.